Hey there, and thanks for joining us for The Weekly Grind, a podcast where we work out the topics that shape and influence the culture, community, and church of today from a biblical perspective. My name is Ben, here with my pastor and good friend Chip. He's the lead pastor, and I'm the worship pastor at the Napoleon Church of the Nazarene. Today on the podcast, we're joined by Tara Leahy. She and her husband Rex have been a part of this NapNaz family for a number of years now, and she joins us to share about their journey in foster care and adoption. So this is The Weekly Grind, and this is Called to Foster. All right, well, what's up, Chip?
Hey, how we doing?
Good. I'm excited about today's podcast,
Yeah.
as am I usually, but more
That's right.
so today because we have a guest with us.
We love to do interviews.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Tara, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, guys.
Tara Leahy's joining us today, and Tara's story is phenomenal, her and Rex's testimony and story. And so Tara and I were talking the other day, and like, Tara, would you be willing to come on and rehash the conversation that we had in the kitchen? And so she's with us today, and the whole idea is we're having a conversation around fostering and adoption and bringing kingdom perspective into it, which you guys are living every day.
Every day.
And so we're just getting a glimpse into your life and what that looks like. So, Chip, I know we were talking about just a biblical perspective on what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, this podcast is a kingdom perspective, right? And you and Rex are the epitome of kingdom values, especially in this world of adoption. Just thinking through Jesus coming, living, and establishing this kingdom, right? Yes. The kingdom is now. I am the kingdom, and as you follow me, you're in the kingdom. Yeah. And what this kingdom always meant to do, from Jesus' first sermon to everything he taught, to how his believers lived, how he lived in his believers, is a kingdom of action, right? 1 John says, we don't live in word, we live in deeds. And one of the most powerful things that happened with the kingdom being established was this idea of adoption. Because in the Roman culture, in that first century, kids were discarded very easily. Yeah. It was nothing for a family to have a child and decide after the child was born, not convenient, and they would just discard the child. It was far more barbaric than we're used to now, in our culture in America. And what was amazing is first century believers, kingdom people, saw these were obviously marginalized, helpless, and the love of Christ that had come into their life compelled them to take these children in and adopt them and give them a home and a life. And honestly, if you study the history of Christianity in the kingdom through the years, one of the most powerful, rubber meets the road, tangible acts of love and service by kingdom people was adoption. And it turned the mindset of the Roman people. Who are these Jesus people? I'm not sure what they're about. They say these crazy things. It seems like to us they're crazy. But yet, can you see what they're doing? Yeah. They're taking our kids into their homes, raising them, giving them a chance. And it's a powerful kingdom activity that you guys are continuing to do 2,000 years later. And it still has that amazing impact. And I tell you what, it just magnifies the love of Christ, because I know we've talked about it. That's what motivates you.
Oh, hands down.
Is the love that Christ has given you, that your relationship with him, and you have seen these marginalized people, and your heart has been moved by God. And it's amazing. I mean, it's so cool to see it firsthand, not just read about it 20 centuries ago, to see it happening. And so we just want to talk about it, right? And kind of just listen to your story, maybe remind us of the opportunities we have with this. If it's not actually doing it, it's supporting it. But again, it very well may be somebody out there God's going to stir their heart to even move this way. And so we just want to give you a chance to share with us and the audience about adoption, about fostering.
Yeah, so really we just kind of want to back up a little bit from the beginning.
Okay.
How many years have you and Rex been married?
Well, I found out today we licensed in June of 2014. Oh,
Okay.
how long have we been
Yeah,
married?
yeah.
I'm sorry. We've been married for, I didn't look that up, 13 years. I didn't look that up.
Put you on the spot.
You did.
I forget already.
I hope Rex is watching this. He's got some.
He's a dates guy too, so he knows that much better than I do.
One of the two
Yeah.
spouses was always the dates first, and the other one is
Yes.
in trouble. But okay, so licensing for foster care,
Yeah.
right? Was when?
June of 2014.
Okay, so take us back a little bit to the call that God placed on your life.
Okay.
To get to that point.
So neither of us started in a family. This was the crazy thing that people did. There's no backstory of we were raised in a family that did this. That's not the case.
Yeah.
A little bit of adoption in his side here and there, but nobody had done this. This was very much a calling, and I truly believe that. It's kind of a three-folded part when I think back and really process it. The first part was we did family really well. We had moved a lot. We didn't have any babysitters. We didn't have grandparents close, and we spent a lot of time with our kids. So we kind of enjoyed sitting around and playing board games and going outside and playing catch. Cool. And dinner together at the table was normal. And we just did family really well. And I realized that was a gift because for some homes they don't. And we were not raised in families necessarily that was always a focus. So for us, we were really intentionally striving for that. That was the first part. So after we had our third child, I was kind of sick, and we had talked about adopting in the future. And he's like, yeah, okay. It kind of blew me off a little. And it just kept coming back around. So my second part in this is I did a little bit of research. And I, just like everyone else, you put adoption in the Google search bar and you wait to see what comes up. And there were kids from all over. And then I realized, and I stumbled on a site, God sent me right there, a photo listing for the state of Ohio. And there's 2,600 kids in Ohio alone who are up for adoption. And there is a photo site, and it says, tell me about you, and what kind of music do you like, and what kind of things do you enjoy? And then it says at the very bottom, what kind of family do you want? And they say things like, I want a mom who will cook with me, or I want a dad who will play ball with me, or I want somewhere that we can stay together with my siblings. And it's heartbreaking. So, of course, I went home and showed it to him, and he said, are you crazy? And then I said, just spend some time on it. So I spent months following these kids to the point that I knew this website pretty well. So there were a set of three siblings, a set of twins, and then their sibling. And then they went from being a set of three siblings on the page to a set of two. The twins were one and the sibling was separated. And then they went to a set of all three separate kids. So I didn't know anything about it at this point, but I knew that things were happening in their life that was causing these children to no longer be able to be together. And it was just heartbreaking. I went back to him. I said, I want to have a serious conversation about this. And he's like, well, what do you have now? And I was like, I don't want to talk about a big world adoption. I want to talk about here in Ohio. I want to talk about that. I said, okay. We did some research, and then we got promoted and moved to North Carolina. And so we started all over, pre-licensed, got done, completely done. Licenses in the mail. We're excited. We're ready. We get promoted back to Ohio. So we moved back to Ohio. Find out everything we've done. None of it matters.
I mean, so are you?
So
we're
you
financially tied into these kind of?
Training hours, I guess, at this point. We've done at this point like hours and hours of training.
Oh my goodness.
Hours and hours of training. So we're back here starting again. Find out, well, we get to keep our CPR. That's nice.
Okay.
But we're starting again. Yeah. And we're starting back in Ohio. So, and I really thought when I found out nothing was going to transfer, that was going to be like the dead end of it. I thought as soon as I had to call him and tell him and like, we're going to have to start all over, he was going to be like, this isn't it. And he literally was like, well, at least we know what we're going to study. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
So we got through Ohio's training in about 9 or 10 months, because there's a long list. There's a lot of hours, a lot of weekends, a lot you have to put into just being licensed. Yeah. So that was kind of our third fold, was just like we kept kind of, but we knew we were supposed to do it. So that at this
Kinda gave
point,
you the
yeah.
endurance that you needed.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's kind of where we started. So that was kind of the beginning of the story, in how it happened.
Okay.
And in Ohio, we actually got a placement before we got our official license. So they called me with a kid, and I said, I'm not licensed. And they said, we'll have it to you by the end of the day. Can we email it? I was like,
Oh, wow.
sure.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was kind of the beginning of it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what happened then? You have your first placement.
We have our first placement. We have the number
What
one
was that
placement.
like?
Oh, it was, okay, so this is I look back and man, I've learned so much now. In the beginning, you just don't know. And you're excited.
Yeah.
But now I realize this is not an exciting moment. This is a heart-wrenching, horrific moment in a child's life. You're excited because you've done a lot of work to get here. You've trained a lot, and you've prayed a lot, and you're confident, and you've hung up all the exit signs and checked all the fire extinguishers and talked to your kids to the point that you're blue in the face and they just don't want to hear it anymore. And you're excited. And then a kid comes in whose life is devastated and ruined, and they're upset and they're hurting, and you realize, oh, game on. Nothing you trained on is going to prepare you for what happens next. And that feeling doesn't go away, even today. Even today when I get a placement, that feeling of, oh, here we go. Because every single situation has been completely different.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing to me because you guys are in our church. Just the energy that you guys have to do this and the different placements, and then just talk about how many placements have you had and the adoption side.
Yeah.
I mean, just for me personally, the adoption that you've done is just a joy in even my life. You know, we were just talking about Tia. She's so much fun. Like, but talk about from that first one to now. What are the numbers? Because you guys have been
So I don't. This is when somebody comes to my house. I write their name down I open an app up on my phone. I have a notes app, and I just write their name. And I counted them up before I came in, and we're at about 98. But that doesn't mean they stayed with us for any amount of time. They could have came. I had a little boy for a couple of hours once. I had some kids for the weekend. I do a lot of respite. I help out other foster parents because when you need some time away, somebody needs to help out, and we're hanging out and doing home things. They can come here because we have to help each other. We're a community. Yeah. But I've had kids that have lived with me for years. I have some that are still there and will be there forever. So it's a big number, but it's also like a very big picture. It's not they haven't all been there for a serious long time. We have adopted 3 times out of this. We adopted a teen set that we didn't know we were going to adopt. And then we adopted a little boy who's 3 now, who is just amazing joy and go every moment of every day. And very different situations though, very different experiences. Adopting teenagers was a whole different ballgame than adopting a little person. So I wouldn't say it's harder. Again, we didn't go into this with a mindset. I mean, we enjoyed the ideal that yes, we would adopt if it came, but we weren't. That wasn't the reason we started. But it is what God led us to for sure. Yeah.
So take us through. This is a roller coaster.
This is a roller coaster. Yeah, and 2 very different roller coasters with the adoptions. Very different situations.
And so, what are some of the greatest victories that you've seen God bring into the lives of these kids and you and you guys personally?
Well, and hands down, hands down, this has always been about the growth that we've seen. We have seen things our benefits are so huge. Yeah. I was thinking back to our original cause. There's one person who said something to me a long time ago, and it wasn't said in niceness. It was actually said very rudely, and it really bothered me, but I think it changed our entire path. It was the bend in the road for us. We had great kids. They were going back just a little bit. They were homeschooled, not because we had some great theory in it. We lived in small town USA, and we moved to a city, and the city was scary, and I didn't want to send my kids to city school. We had prayed about it. Anyways, we ended up homeschooling. We move around, that works. And a lady said, "You're never going to teach your kids anything when they just sit in your walls." And I remember thinking, it's true. How am I going to raise children that are going to be disciples and love on people if the only person they ever get to hang out with is their mom? And not that was bad. It wasn't a hit against education or even the church. It was, how am I going to teach them to have eyes to see things that we don't see? And that was for us a major part of fostering. So I do want to go back to that because I remember that was something that I want to make sure, like, we can live very comfortably and not see what's going on around us.
Yeah.
We have to be intentional. So we had to be intentional in teaching people to see, and the people around us. That goes outside of even my children and our family around us and whatnot. So yes, very different roller coasters, seeing kids differently, all of that. I couldn't have forgot what you said. Sorry.
No, I just wanted you to share some of the victories. And
the victories. Yes, the victories. So, Tim and Tia's adoption hasn't always been easy. It hasn't been a great one, but I will say it was we had been praying. Every group I'd been a part of, the church had been praying for parents for them. I think God has a hilarious sense of humor. And the moment they came in and they were actually, and the kids know this isn't a big secret, they were going to move them to a different family. It was a long ways away and it wasn't going to be in their best interest. And we truly believe that. And I looked at my husband and he looked at me, he goes, "We need to talk in the garage." We have a whole caseworkers. We have like 3 of them sitting around the table. We stand up. We walk in the garage. He says, "Is this our first adoption?" I was like, "Yep." We walked back in and we were like, we changed our minds. We'd like to adopt them. And it was just very like, let us talk to the kids now. And a moment that came around that was just right in front of us that we literally did not see until it slammed us in the face. Yeah. And then from there, their adoption was amazing. So a good story of. I just think of all the teens of the 2,600 in Ohio. There's over 1,000 of them that are teens that are just looking for a place, a mom and a dad.
Which can be scary to a prospective foster family.
Yeah. Well, I would prefer. I will tell you, after 6 years, I'll take teens over little bitties.
Yeah.
I love little bitties. Don't get me wrong, but
you can hold your own with the teens.
Oh,
too.
I like my. Teens have really good things, but you can explain hope to teens.
Yeah.
You can sit down and you can explain trauma and you can talk about where they can go from there and how this can affect their life, and you can have hard conversations. Those pains are very real in little people, and you can't explain that like that. All you can do is hold them and love them and let them cry, and it is heart-wrenching to sit and have little people cry, and you trying to explain to them, but they don't get it.
Yeah. With
teens, you can have a conversation that maybe cognitively they can maybe find some relief in that and understanding.
Well, and even more than cognitively, I've learned even with just kind of helping out with our students here, the language they speak is authenticity.
Oh, hands down.
And if you are authentically real and just trying, like, you don't have an agenda, you're not trying to fulfill some quota of, I just want to do this because I think you're going to complete our family or whatever. If you're just, no, here's what I have to offer. Take it or leave it. And it's crazy the way that teens respond to authenticity.
Well, they can think. They have perspective that's just mind-blowing that even we don't see that. And when you are able to turn the feelings down just a little bit and turn the thinking up just a little bit, you're able to really grasp that and have some amazing conversations. And that's why they have big problems. I'm not saying there's not some big problems, but there's hope with those problems. Yeah. And it doesn't just feel like a never-ending crying of hurt, because that wears on you after a while. Yeah. And it's hard.
Sure. Yeah, we wouldn't want to ever, present this idea that fostering an adoption is a cakewalk.
Yeah. No.
There is
no.
the bad and even the ugly.
Yes.
But I think probably you would say the reward and the fulfillment you get from following God's call, but also seeing the victories and the change, and kids who were hopeless become hopeful, and kids who are bound by despair and just to all of a sudden breathe again, hope and life. There's nothing like that, is there?
It's to me it'll be watching a kid come in who's lived in my home, who's walks into church and they're praising and worshiping, or I every single time we do baptisms, I'm a mess.
That wrecks me.
But you want to watch a child who I know has fought to get to a place where they're coming into the kingdom and they're baptizing, and I'm the one in the back row who's probably excusing herself because she's going to be hysterically bawling.
A little inside scoop to the service planning portion of the baptism services. That's when usually I dump the authority card on Sarah and make her lead whatever song we're doing during baptisms, because I usually just can't handle it. And it's just so cool to see what God's done, where He's taken. Because it's just good.
It is good stuff, and it's that internal this is good, and there's been times that they've walked out of our home and they've gone back into situations that maybe weren't perfect, but they're seeds.
Yeah.
And I know that. I believe that in my heart. If I didn't, I don't know if I would be able to do as much as we do or what we do.
But that's all we're called to do.
Exactly. That's it. Yeah. Knowing that they've seen things, they've been a part of things, it's there, it's going to grow.
And knowing you may never see the fruit of that, of your labor, but knowing that you are obedient to what God is calling you to do.
And you gave them a picture of family, of love, that, you know what? I guarantee you, I don't know what that number is, but there will be some that will be so moved by that they're going to break the cycle of dysfunction that maybe has existed in their families' lives because they saw a picture.
Yeah.
They tasted it, they felt it, they were there.
And it's the simple things. I have had so many kids who are like, you eat dinner together as a family? Yep, not every night. My kids will be listening going, nah, but more than not. We cook together. We have a family time. We're gonna talk about their days and good things and bad things and things they've noticed. And you talk to us? They're not used to that. And this is not something that is different than anything we would do, even if it was our own children around that table. So that it's very intentional in a way now, but it really just is our family living life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got a number of families in our church, actually.
We do.
That are part of that foster, and then some that adopt.
Yeah.
Some that do a little bit of both, like you.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone listening today? Maybe they felt a tug in their spirit towards fostering or adopting or both, but what they felt is the call of God. What kind of encouraging words would you give him? And maybe
pray and hold on. No,
maybe some realistic words. That's what I was going to say.
Okay, the realistic words. Everybody in the foster. I will laugh with these 2 points. Everybody in the fostering world. After you've done this for a couple of placements, you realize you lack 2 things. You lack a bigger kitchen table. You need a bigger kitchen table. Hands down, your dining room table is not big enough. And your car is not large enough. We do not all drive vans. I drive a minivan, but I don't drive a big van. But not everybody has to do that. I have heard that. I can't foster. I don't want to drive a big van. You do not have to drive a big van.
Mia showed up in an SUV bigger than my truck yesterday. Your one of your daughters.
She does drive one. Yes,
that it looked like the FBI.
Yes, they both. Yeah.
Look out! No, that's a Leahy. They're just driving their people
SUVs.
Movers around.
But they don't look like. Yeah. Anyways, you don't. Yeah. There's that. The other thing is you do. I guess this is a two-sided. It's amazing, but you have to be at a good place. If you can't do this if you've got pain that you haven't dealt with.
That's good.
If you have infertility that you just can't get through, you would never intentionally cause harm. But foster care is a reunification plan. Most of our kids have families who are needing help. Our job is to keep them safe while other people get the services that they need, get the help that they need, so they can get their kids back.
Say that one more time, because that was good. Your job is, as a foster parent,
to keep them safe while everyone else can get the help that they need and get to a place that they can provide that safety for them. I have never, ever met a parent who did not love their child. Plain and simple. The hardest thing I do as a foster parent is not bring children into my home. The hardest thing I do as a foster parent is sit with moms who are shaming and crying and bawling, cannot believe they're in this situation, heart-wrecked that their kid is going home with me tonight because they can't do enough. They can't fight this addiction just by wanting it to be gone. They love their children. They want what's good for their children. They want what's best for their children. But that's the hardest thing I do, is dealing with that shame and that guilt and that pain that the parents are feeling. So when you can come beside them and you can say, clear them of like, I'm not here to take your kids. I'm going to love on them. We are going to keep them safe. We are going to eat dinner and play games and go to church and have fun. And you are going to focus on doing what you need to do. And when you're ready, they're going to be here. And you're all going to be able to get back together healthier. Yeah. When you can come aside. If you have your own agenda in the background, you can't do that. And that's not fair.
That's a good point, because you go from I need something in my life to fill me up to I'm overflowing, and so you're truly a giver.
Yeah.
It's not like you're trying to fill some hole. No, it's out of the abundance of love that I have to give that I'm actually giving.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I can sit back. Now, that being said, we have adopted 3 times. We never walked into it with adoption, the 2 and then the 1. But that was even a conversation that was the most profound one I think I've ever had in my life, when a mother said, I can't do this, but I loved him enough to say, you're the best. Can you do this for me? Can you take him on? Will you make sure he knows I love him? Will you make sure he knows I tried? And you, it is the most emotional moment to in responsibility to have from another mom, looking at another mom and saying, I love him, but I can't do this.
Yeah.
So our parents fight very hard against society and against people who are shaming them, and nobody brags about losing their children. They hide and they hurt, and yet we're like, you need to go do this, and you need to go do this, and you need help here, and you need. But they're beaten and they're down, and it takes somebody coming beside them and say, no, you're gonna get up today. You're gonna meet therapy.
Yeah.
You know, so and so is gonna be there to meet you. He's looking forward to it. Tell me you'll be there.
Right.
Because the last thing I want to do is have a conversation that you didn't show up today. I need you to tell me this morning on the phone that you're going to be there this evening, so I can assure him that you're going to be there.
So you're not only coaching and teaching kids, it's the parents as well that you're trying to equip and build up and encourage.
Yeah, that's
in the process.
Because when it works and it works the way it's intended, it is amazing. There is nothing more celebrated than kids going home. It is party night. It is excitement. Yeah, we're packing up and cleaning up, but we are excited about where you're going and what's next.
Cool.
The fulfillment of having
we did it.
done your role.
Yeah, we did
fulfilled
it.
your role.
And then them calling even later, like, you know me well enough at this point. You're going to call up and be like, hey, I'm dealing with this and this. What should I do? I'm here for you. I have parents still call me all the time, like, what are we doing here?
And if you have the mindset, or if you have the reality that this is an outflow of God's love in your life and it's an overflow, then you have the ability to fulfill a role for a child, bring them to a point where they are reunified, can continue to be there, and yet still have the capacity to do it again.
Well,
right?
Turn around.
That is where God really steps in, and that's where you can get kind of a bad name in what you do. In fostering, you look at our numbers, and people just, what everyone knows about fostering is what they've learned from the movies. So I would say, if you're going to learn it from the movies, let me point you to a couple movies that maybe will show you the right version.
So is Instant Family a good one? Because they found their way in the process.
I will tell you, it's gotten a lot of backlash.
I just
across
watched that,
the
and
world,
I was crying
though.
like 3
We do.
different times.
So let me
powerful.
tell you. First off, they said the little where they get together and there's kids and you go and meet them. Yeah, that really happens.
Yeah.
It happens in the state of Ohio regularly. Let me also say there are orphanages in Ohio. We call them by different names, but that is a real thing still to this day. Not knowing if you can do it and having bigger kids parenting little kids. Oh yeah, that's all very true. Yeah. Taking timeouts with your spouse to go to the other room to go, oh, we can't do that. Yep, that's life. That's very true. And then the moment when somebody, in their moment, he got called dad, and then the mom, and like, but the moment where like they're just part of yours. Yeah. And it doesn't always look like that. But whatever that looks like.
What's another movie? Yeah. What's another?
There's not very many. That's the problem. Instant Family was the one I was thinking of because it just got a lot of...
I hadn't talked to you before the podcast. I'm like, she's going to probably hate this movie. And I thought it's great. But they did. They found their way and they really discovered, this is what it's about. Because I think they got into it out of lack. But then, but they really saw what they were able to give.
Yeah.
And towards the end, it was just so powerful when they were fighting for the kids and just, it
was a good modern day show to something that was. I picked a kid up once who's like, "How many cats do you have?" And she was crying in a mess, and I was like, "We have one." But in her world, she had watched a movie where there are hundreds of cats in a foster home, and we get so much bad press that I every once in a while want to say, "Can you give some good numbers out there?"
Yeah.
Can you just give some good numbers of something great going on?
Is it like Angels in the Outfield or something about a foster child? Do you remember that movie? It's an old one. I watched it when I was little. It's a baseball movie.
That's why I didn't watch it.
You didn't know that?
I mean, I recognize the name, but I don't remember that movie.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll have to watch it later to
go
see.
Check it out. Let us know. leave a comment. Okay, so anything else that you want to? I mean, this is all great stuff. I think we could go for another hour.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking. What are the important things to know is if you want to do this, you need to pray. You need to pray. I'm not saying that if you have had trauma in your life or issues, you can't be foster parents. Actually, you make the best parents. People who have fought through things and can relate to kids who haven't had it great make good parents, make great foster parents. You do not have to be married. You can be single. In the state of Ohio, you have to be 21. You can rent. You can own your house. There's no. A lot of people say I can't do it because of this or that, or it's a lot more open than you realize. They're really looking for people who will just really give kids love and be intentional in helping them get home, or if that doesn't work, helping them find a permanent place so that they can call theirs. Not everybody fosters. Not everybody wants to foster. I was thinking about this today. We have our agency. I work for Adriel. I place through. I don't place with Henry County Direct or any local county. I can place with any county. I have all different counties in my home. And that allows for us to do some other fun things with family coaching, supervising visits, family preservation, families that are just struggling, adopting grandparents where you just come and hang out with kids and take them for ice cream. And they don't have anyone picking them up and saying, hey, let's go to the ball field. That's not just us. You can do something like that. So there's so many ways. I know locally we have a phenomenal CASA program. Those are the court-appointed special advocates. You come alongside us and the agency and the courts, and you just be another set of eyes who isn't tied to any agency or any part, and just kind of look at the full overall picture and give a report. And those eyes are crucial, especially if a child's been through numerous placements. Sometimes you're the only consistency. Caseworkers average 5 years. So the kids could go through numerous caseworkers in their time in care. They could go through different families just because of things happening in families themselves. Sometimes that other person is the only person that's been consistent. I do want to say, I said 5 years is their lifespan. Foster care really is down to about top a 2-year permanency. We want to see kids at the 1 year mark, we want to see parents. This isn't you don't get to stay in foster care for 8, 9, 10 years like you used to. That's not part of what the state has worked really hard at the 1 year plan. We need to figure out what we're doing. So you have some time, and if you haven't done your services, you need to kick it into gear. And then if that's not done by 2 years, then they're going to be looking at
adoption.
Yeah, they're going to be looking at other alternatives for permanency for kids. And at the 1 year plan, they start to talk about what that second plan will be. And so we don't see kids sitting nearly as long as they used to sit, but in those 2 years, a lot can happen. That's not their fault. They could change homes. I know a couple who had to change homes based on health issues. So that had nothing to do with the kids.
Yeah. So, just one last thing. Where can people go to learn more? What's a good resource did you point them to?
I would say, Adriel is amazing. They have an orientation class where you can just go to get more information. Maybe
spell it for people.
ADRIEL,
right?
IEL, yeah. And you can go right on there and you can learn about the different trainings and classes.
podcast.
Yep,
can't
we can put them on the
And-
resources.
and the preservation, the family preservation, and then the other thing is talk to us. We are monkeys. We have circuses, and we are carrying our monkeys around, and we look like it, but we love what we do.
Yeah.
And talk to a foster parent and say, hey, I want to know more, because we are looking for a reason to go out for coffee, even when we don't drink coffee, and we love to share our hearts in it. And I haven't none that I can think of would tell you no to that.
Yeah.
So have a conversation. We'd love to tell you about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
It's amazing to watch you guys sense the call of God, work through that call, but it becoming clear to you,
Oh yeah.
and then experiencing the fulfillment that comes from God's call in your life. And that's what's continuing to sustain you, no doubt, is this is what God wants to do with me.
Well, I keep saying, anytime you can show me something else, I do. But I feel like I have a knowledge. I have this vision. I can see this, and with it has a responsibility. So until He shows me another way to take that vision and help, I guess this is what we're doing.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
What do you think about praying for Tara
Sure.
and all the families
Sure.
as we end?
Let's pray. Our Father, we're so grateful for your love and grace and what you've done in our lives, and how you call us to spread that, to share that, to bring that into as many lives as possible. And one of the most powerful ways is through fostering an adoption, Lord. And Lord, we're so grateful for couples like Rex and Tara, who are shining lights in a world that is so dysfunctional. And Lord, we just thank you for their ministry, Lord, their consistency, their passion for this, Lord. And in these moments, as we end this podcast, we just would pray over them, that you would continue to sustain them and strengthen them, Father. Continue to give them the grace that's necessary to pour into life after life after life. Be with their family, Lord, as the kids have embraced this and have made this their ministry also. Would you bless them, I pray, in just powerful ways, and favor them, we ask, Father. And Lord, for that one or that couple or someone who's listening who you've already maybe begun to tug at their heart about this, Lord, would you just continue to speak to them, and may they open their hearts to this call. If you're placing it on them and if you've called them, then you are going to give them all the resources that they need to be able to do this. And they are going to experience a life that is abundant, Lord. And they're going to sit one day like Tara does and just marvel at how God has already used her. With 98 kids, they're going to have those moments of just blessing and fulfillment. And so, Lord, if you're calling, then you're going to resource, you're going to empower. Help them to know that. Keep them open to your call, I pray. May all of us have a kingdom mindset to look out for the marginalized as you did. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Well, hey, thanks for engaging with us in this week's episode of The Weekly Grind as we tackle the topics of today from a biblical perspective. If you found today's topic or any episode valuable to you and your growth, it'd mean a lot to us if you would leave us a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to stay caught up on every episode of the Weekly Grind podcast. Thanks so much, and we will see you next time.